takes us to the thriving bit, right? How do you plan to thrive in the future? And I'm going to keep this very simple and ask, what stories are you telling your teams for them to aspire for more?
It's a really simple question I ask them. Like, what is the world that you want to see? And, in the work that we're doing now, how are you contributing to it? So I always say, like, in the work that we're doing now, I want to make invisible daily struggles visible. I want to live in a world where we're each able to give help and receive help, and we're able to become the best versions of ourselves. And keeping that in mind and working on it in like small ways, I'm able to do that. So what is it for you? And they come up with great themes for themselves that they want to do. And it doesn't have to align with mine. It has to be their own, because again, this is something that they're doing because of their heart, because of their soul. And it has to align with their soul's purpose. So for each person that's there, they're in it for something that's completely different. And the beauty of it is it's all of these souls that are getting nourished together and that are helping other souls in the process.
Wonderful. So having that powerful visioning technique, right, Bhairavi, I think that really helps us.
Connect to your own why, basically. Instead of my why, connect to your why.
Definitely. Wonderful. How about yourself, Tony? What stories are you telling your teams for them to aspire for more?
Yep. So we actually spend a lot of time, and I feel like if you sat in on some of our leadership team meetings, you'd be like, I don't think they accomplished anything, but I feel like we accomplished a lot. It's just going around the table and checking in with everyone and seeing how everyone's doing. We had a meeting one time back in April, right when kind of the COVID first started. We had a bunch of important topics to talk about, and I kind of sat down and looked around the virtual table, and I was like, how's everyone doing? And we didn't talk about anything else, but I think that was the most important discussion we had in 2020, was letting people know that they could be vulnerable, letting them know that they could talk about what things they were struggling with, and that it wasn't something it was something that we really valued and wanting to understand.
Wonderful. So it's about helping people to become comfortable with failure, right? In a way to say, it's okay not to have the best outcomes or the best outputs, but it's okay to just be with or talk about what is the actual being, right?
Yep.
And that's also how you create a psychologically safe workspace. It's just by doing exactly what Tony did, and not having any repercussions based on it. Like, this is a space just for this, and that's all we're going to do. And he's leading from the front by being vulnerable and by being authentic, which is awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I probably overshare with my team sometimes, but I want them to understand that I by no means am perfect, nowhere close to it. And it's interesting to come out of those conversations and have a side conversation with someone. They're like, I didn't know you were struggling with that, and then we can talk about it a little bit further and help them find either the right resources or just always kind of check in with them every once in a while to see how they're doing with it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think, it's great to hear that from both Bhairavi and Tony. I think in our case, in a very strange way, it's a great feeling where we are by the grace of God. And that is, it's probably only one of the rare companies where the founder and the owner reports to the rest of the team. Because sometimes I don't even know what on earth is going on, which is a good thing. Because last week there was a Zoom call for a big client of ours in Wales, and I messaged on the group saying, hey, can I join? They're like, boss, we don't want you. We've got this covered. We'll let you know if anything is there. We'll send you the video when it's approved for your sort of go ahead. And I was irritated, but at the same time, I was like, wow, this is quite cool. So that's what I wanted to build, that trust. And it's a family. It's not really a team, which is nice. And they would take a bullet for you. And like Tony said, you get to know them, and Bhairavi has done the same. You're all in this together, right? The only thing I will say is when the chips are down, because we do, and the company's tagline is beyond the lens, you're doing these human interest stories. I always tell them, get reminded of the stuff that we've done. And if you'll indulge me, I won't take too long. There's an England physical disability cricket team. That does exist. People only see the mainstream sports teams. There is a physically disabled team as well. There's a boy that plays for the team. His name is Callum Flynn. He has bone cancer. Now, we filmed with him a few years ago. That story ended up running on Sky Sports and a lot of well-known networks around the world. Good story. Not many people knew that we had done it. Great sense of satisfaction, right? Callum was shopping at Piccadilly Circus in London at a shop called Lily White's. He comes out of the shop and these three beautiful women came and said, "We want a photo." He thought he had to take a picture of them. They were giving him the phone. They said, "No, you're the cancer boy. We saw your story on Sky Sports. We want a selfie with you." And he sent me a voice message about that. And he was choking. He just couldn't speak. He's like, "I can't believe this." Now, the whole world doesn't know we did it. We're not going to shout about it and say it was us. But I always tell the team, remember Callum Flynn. When the chips are down, that's the impact that you've made. And let me take Bhairavi's point. I mean, she's making an impact every day. Tony is doing the same thing. So I think, yes, the team is important, but at the same time, you remind them, hey, celebrate the successes as well. That will help you during the tough times.
True. Because right now I see my teams, especially with the balancing act that they have to play, there's always a sense of overwhelm. So they're very excited to do things, but I just see that I see capable people not wanting to commit too much because they're scared. They don't want to. So that's when I had to go and, let them know that, look, it's okay to actually have the sense of overwhelm, but it's just take a step back. There's a supporting and trusting team for you to let us know if there is a challenge. So that very fact that, you tell them it's okay, let us know if you can't do it, but you go and try for it, right? That makes them actually accelerate and try a little bit harder in the given circumstances. So I'm just kind of seeing a sense of overwhelm, but if you're giving that container of safety, instead of just going and tapping into your prefrontal cortex and getting to say, look, tell me the numbers or tell me this, but just before you go to all those numbers, giving them the container of safety before you go and ask for all the other things that the business actually requires. So I think that balancing act that we as founders and leaders or managers to our teams actually can make a big, big difference.
For sure. And, resetting expectations is a huge part of it. So once this whole COVID situation happened and I was working so much, I wasn't able to give my team as much as they needed. But I was in constant touch, and voice notes was such a great way to do it, saying, what are we going to do? Like, what is your mental health like? How much space do you have? Do we need to change timelines around? You tell me, putting the ball back and saying, it's okay if you need to take time. It's absolutely fine. And them seeing that, oh, okay, so we're not just preaching this outside, but within the organization, that's actually okay. Me saying, look, this week, I'm not going to be able to. I'm in the middle of a depressive episode. These are the things that are happening. These are the 3 things that I am going to be able to do. But all of these other things, I'm not going to be able to do. And that level of transparency and that level of trust in them, and then their trust in me with whatever was happening, resetting expectations, clear communication, all of that worked so well for us.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.